one of, if not the most common question I get asked on live streams or in video comments is how much money do I make as a developer? How much money do I earn? What's my hourly breakdown? And today I'm going to tell you, I don't have any issues talking about money, and I think it's important. But not only am I going to tell you, I'm also going to explain a little bit of the journey and how we got there, which I think is even more important than the number. All right, so I made a slide deck, which is kind of a funny thing, but just to really paint the picture of the journey, right? So a lot of times people think you come out the womb knowing how to code, right? I graduated high school in 2006, and so about 2017 to 2014, what was I doing for those 7 years? Well, I was sort of half-assing college, which was making me $0 an hour. In fact, it was costing me money and time and energy that I could have spent, learning to code, doing other things. But I think it's important to talk about this because people sometimes just think you're out the door, you're killing it, you're doing well. I was a college student, I was delivering pizzas, making $8 an hour and some tips. And occasionally I would do physical labor installing wine vineyards for $15 an hour. That's 7 years of my life, not learning code from basically 18 to about 25, give or take. So day one of actually the journey, right? Day one. And I found this old email and I cut it, so it looks a little wonky because I cut out pictures and names and things like that. But July 7th, 2015 is the same day that I got offered my very first internship. So this is where it started, right here in 2015. And I don't know, what was kind of crazy is looking back at that wasn't that long ago. It's been quite a run, and things have been going very well. And we're going to talk a little bit about why. But we're just talking about, what was that, a little less than 4 years? 4 years ago? Give or take a couple months. It's February 25th, 2019, and that's the 2015, July. Not too shabby, but this is where it all started with this very email. So, how are we breaking this down? Well, the internship. And you can't see this. I put this little image here because the thing was killing me. But so money. What was my first internship? $12 an hour. Did I have any benefits? No. It was a contract role. I took a contract role. Or excuse me, it was not I wouldn't say it was a contract role. It was a temporary role. It was for 3 months. I had no benefits. It was actually 4 hours of driving round trip. So oftentimes I would spend an hour and 50 minutes getting up at about $16, about 6 a.m. I'd have to be there by 6 a.m. So I'd get up around 4:30 or so, and it'd take me an hour and a half, 2 hours. So about 4 hours round trip, give or take traffic. That LA traffic. And about $15 in gas. Now I'm making $12 an hour, $15 in gas. It gets pricey. So let's talk about improvement. What did this role give me? Well, it gave me a realization that I knew nothing. I was not prepared in the slightest, and that's okay, right? It's part of the journey. Part of it is just realizing that, hey, you're getting going, and let me actually move this real quick. But you're getting going, and you're learning, and that's good, right? And there's some humility that comes with that, and that's what it gave me. I did get some practice in HTML, CSS, and WordPress, and I did get to learn a little bit about the deployment process. So, as I mentioned, I was at that internship for about 3 months, and the thing I took away from that, and the reason I took that, was because even before I had the resume experience, what I thought was king was resume experience. Now, I'll say that it still is, in my opinion, but it's also more so about skills. But that was the very first step. The next step was I became a contractor with that company. And I went from $12 an hour to $20 an hour. Still had no benefits. There's some cost to that, right? You're still a contractor. You have to maintain your own equipment. And, during this period of time, I took away the realization that I'm not where I need to be. I'm not this is not what I want. I didn't want to be a contractor. $20 an hour to some people might sound like a lot of money. In Los Angeles, California, it basically means you're dirt poor. So it's it's inconsistent also, right? I'm not a full-time employee. It comes and goes. But in this time, I'm spending time getting better HTML, CSS, WordPress with a little bit of PHP in there. And again, deployments. That's what I've been spending my time on. And I did that with them for about 3 months. Some things I learned from that, some final thoughts on that, was that at this point I was working remote with them, and some organizations and some people, and I'm probably just as much to blame at this point in my career, when there's bad communication and you're not clear on requirements, that can cut your hourly rate in half. So that $20 an hour is probably closer to 10 with how much time I actually build and how much time it actually took. So at this time, I could barely get interviews, and when I did, it was pretty apparent that no one was going to hire me about 10 minutes in. But that's where I was at. That's what I was doing. I was still studying outside of this on more than just what skills are listed here, but I was still growing. I was still trying to. I was striving towards that goal. At this time, I'm still in college. Same thing here. At this time, I'm now freelancing. That contract role sort of dried up, and it's time to move on. And I'm charging anywhere from about $20 to $25 an hour. And the realization is still there. I'm not where I need to be. I'm getting better. Slowly but surely, I'm slowly getting better. I wouldn't say the fire's lit under me quite yet, but I'm working towards it. I'm in school full time, right? So this is just how I'm trying to support myself while being in school full time. I think I did some tutoring as well at this time. When you're on those sort of contract jobs, a lot of I don't need to explain this to you, but you got multiple hustles. At some point in time, I sell bootleg DVDs. You're figuring it out, right? By bootleg, I mean completely legal DVDs. Bootleg has such a very meaning amongst social economic groups. But anyhow, so I was selling. Getting better. One thing I would say is that communication getting really key, being sort of freelancing for myself and working with these multiple companies. An additional final thought about that is you can go and also half your hourly rate when requirements aren't clear from clients and they keep changing their minds. And at this point, at the end of these 4 months of doing freelancing, I decided I would never give a set price again, just because I'm too nice to just go ahead and throw it in, even though they added it after the fact. And it just, you want to please your customers. Anyhow, so now I'm out of college. I'm dropping out. I'm there. I've taken what I consider to be my first real job, my first career-based job as a technology trainer, which is a bit of a mix of a technical documentation and a business analyst. I actually have, and you'll see that my hourly rate is right in between 20 and 25 where I was before. But in this case, I'm now an employee, so I'm not paying as much taxes. I'm getting PTO, and I have medical insurance, and I have 401k. There's some costs that I dropped out of college. It's not something a lot of people show up and you go and tell your parents as you've been, dicking around in college for 5-6 years. Oh, by the way, I know I'm a year from graduating. It ain't gonna happen. I'm gone. See you later. So dropped out of college. I'm sure there's other costs. I'm living on my own. Most of this time I'm living on my own, but at this time I'm living in a crack house, essentially. Not a literal crack house, but a shack. We can call it a shack, where some of y'all remember the microwave in the background, that place, where I'm cooking. Cooking is a very, we're using cooking when I really mean microwaving food. But the realization at this point is this is when the fire was lit under me. There's no going back, all right? And I knew this before I took this job. I was thinking about it, and I, thought about it for a moment. This has to work. So I did learn a lot of stuff. You'll notice that we have a lot of things listed here because I'm working at a software company. I'm learning about tools in the industry such as Jira. I'm learning about the software development lifecycle, user stories, requirement gathering, agile fundamentals. I'm getting better at video editing and wireframing. These are all things that are crucial Um, I spent 9 months here. Still, resume is key, and that's why I wanted this role. And my goal originally was to work my way into a dev role from this place. How did I grinded my way to success in these 9 months? Every day I spent 4 hours on the weekdays. This was while working a 40-hour week job. It wasn't easy, without a doubt. I don't know if I could do it again, but I did it. And it's sometimes an hour in the morning, 3 hours after work, 4 hours after work, whatever it was. It was very unhealthy. On the weekends, 8 to 14 hours each weekend day. So Saturdays and Sundays, just putting the time in, smashing the keyboard, crying because I can't understand why I can't understand algorithms, right? Why can't I get this? What is an API call? I don't understand, right? These are the things that are happening again and again and again. And get in here, Tito. So I gotta let my cat in. These are the things that are happening, and I'm just going through the motions, right? Oh, by the way, April has left me because I was so miserable to be around. And sometimes people are like, hey, man, why you take her back, this and that. Let me tell you, she made the right decision, because before this, while I was in school, I was miserable, I was depressed, I was angry, I was an asshole. I wasn't the man I wanted to be. And, I'm going to do a separate video about quitting. And we're going to talk about how sometimes it's okay to quit. And I somewhat respect her for quitting me. So let me tell you, it's hard. All right. So anyhow, so that's where I'm at, right? I've been grinding 9 months. Bam, we did it, baby. We're at now $29 an hour, which is roughly $62,000 a year. Still got pretty much the same medical benefits. What was the cost? Moved 3,000 miles away. Any hope left in the parents' hearts that I was going back to college was just ripped out of their chest real quick. And on top of that, as I mentioned during that time, April and I had been rekindling. She needed a piece of this hotness, and and we we might have to edit that. But anyhow, I didn't know she was coming down, right? Things were a little rocky, things were a little rough, and the cats. For any of you guys who have been following the channel for the last years, I'm a big cat guy. I have 3 cats. I have a dog now. I love my pets. Some of us introverts, man, that's how we see the world. We see the world through our pets, and we enjoy them, and they're part of the family. That's very true. So how did I improve while I was there? What was my realization? My realization was, like, I need to prove my worth day one. This is what is super important, because, like, I came down to Florida with $500 in my bank account. I'm renting a room with a bunch of college students that are smoking dope and, like, drinking every night and partying. I'm just doing my thing. Every day I'm coming home. I'm studying, these are the skills I got at this job anyhow. HTML, CSS, Angular, JavaScript, Git, Jasmine, PHP, Cake PHP, MySQL. That was the stack we were working with, learning a lot. Learned what a unit test was. Didn't know that was a thing, right? So you start learning these things, working more with clients, building web applications, getting better, growing, learning skills and technologies that are needed. And that was really what this first job gave me. So I was there for a full year, but duration, let's just say 3 months. The first 3 months of my job was I made sure I got better and learned what topics that were new to me. 3 months in, I got a $5,000 raise because I took the long-term play, which was, hey, we'll give you $5K to relocate, or we'll bump your salary $5K after 3 months. It'll be continuous. So what did I do? I'm playing the long game, so I took the $5K. I took the $5K pay bump after 3 months, and I'm up to about $32 an hour, $67,000 a year. 3 months later, I'm feeling pretty good. We're still here, was really what I was thinking. I'm continuing to improve, and I was there about 9 more months with a big-ass smile on my face after I got that raise, and we did it, right? I kept my job, which is not an easy thing to say, right? This is my first real dive into being a full-stack developer. This is my first, hey, I'm doing it. It's no longer a dream. It's no longer this fantasy idea. I'm here, I'm grinding, I'm doing it, I'm working at it. I go into work 40 hours a week. probably working 80 hours for these first 3 months, learning, growing, building, doing whatever I can do to get better. And, I kept that job and loving it, absolutely loving it. Spent 1 year there in total. So what's next? I move on to a front-end software engineer role, get about an $8K pay raise, and I'm making about $38.50 an hour, give or take. And, just a little bit of realization that I'm still battling imposter syndrome, but I'm working hard, right? And I think it's important to I threw that in there because I think it's important because a lot of people, it's something you suffer with for quite some time. And for me, I suffered with it up until probably last year or so. Sort of how I came over it is I just interviewed candidates and I saw people being interviewed and I was like, God, I'm so much better than them. And that's not like an ego thing. That's a you can't write a for loop on a whiteboard thing. I'm basically a coding god. Like if that's the average dev, and as crazy as it sounds like, a lot of times that's how it is. You have people, I have 20 years API experience. Cool, here's this project. How do you do a post? I don't know. I do front end full time. I know how to do a post call. You open C#.net, I could read the code and tell you how it works. No problem. Anyhow, but yeah, it's still there. It's working. I'm getting better, right? I'm learning new skills. Every job you go to, you're not going to have the same skills. So what am I working on? HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Git, Jasmine, same stuff. But now I'm integrating some newer technologies, Angular 2, TypeScript. I'm learning about the solid principles. I'm doing code reviews. I'm learning more in depth about Agile and Scrum. I spent 1 year there in total. I spent 1.5 years for this first pay, right? It's been 1 year. And one final thought here is, one of the reasons I went to this role was that I met the tech lead here, who I to this day have very high respect for and like him quite a bit. And I knew he was going to help me become a better developer. And a good group of developers can increase your skill and value significantly, and that's what you're going to see. Because at 1 year, we went and got a 40% raise. And the reason for that is because my skill and my ability increased dramatically, and I put the time, effort, and energy in there. At this time, and it's, sort of a food for thought, is, my mentality has been in those early stages of your career, go and see what the market rate is, and if you're not there, chances are your work's not going to give it to you. Go and negotiate. What's the best way to negotiate? Go and get another offer. Get them to match it or beat it, and if they don't, go take a raise. And so that's sort of what happened in this situation, and I think that's okay to say, because at the end of the day, money allows me to help April go to school. Money helps me take care of my mother when she needs some finances. Money allowed me to help my brother out when he got into some debt. Money allows me to save for retirement, to potentially have children and be able to give them a good life. So I have no shame saying that I had another offer and here we are. So anyhow, so now we're at $52.50 an hour, making $105,000 roughly salary a year. Still would say I'm battling a little bit of imposter syndrome, but when you have multiple six-figure offers on the table, and you've been interviewing with like Microsoft and Facebook, Google, Amazon, all those sorts of companies, it starts going away. It starts getting chipped down a little bit. I will say that I spent another 6 months there, about a year and a half, and getting such a large raise. This is probably a little bit of my inexperience, right? Because at this point, I have about 2 years. I have about 2 years experience at this point in my career as a developer, full-time developer, and getting a 40% pay raise is something that I know I felt a little bit uncomfortable about it, because now I felt as if I owed them 40% more. That's not really how it works, but that's something to watch out for, and it's an unfortunate thing. And here we are. Present day, I decided to leave my previous company, not for pretty much a raise, pretty much broke even. I made up a little bit of money. I've had to put somewhere around a $5,000 raise once you swap out the benefits and the PTO and all that sort of stuff. So, which by the way, we're not going into PTO and medical and 401k and stuff like that, but those are tens or thousands of dollars differences depending on what stage we were at, but mostly just care about the raw number, which anyhow, here it is. So this is where I'm at today. About coming on 3 years experience, got hired around 2.5 plus, and the realization was that I was excited for a new environment and working with new technologies. I'm working in Vue and building progressive web apps, and diving into the C# and .NET, and the journey continues. So the reason I sort of broke this out, as I mentioned in the beginning, is that no one comes out of the womb knowing how to code. No one goes from making $0 an hour to tomorrow making $53 an hour in my case. But there is a journey, there is a process, and what this 20-minute video is essentially 5 years. If you want to go back with like when I was at school, another 7 or 8, but really 4 to 5 years of very hard work, of grinding and knowing what it's going to take, and knowing that I need to learn the latest things, I need to get better, I need to build projects, I need to be mentored, I need to look for devs that are going to make me better, I need to mentor, I need to give back, I need to get certs, I need to build up a personal brand. This is what part of the journey was to get to where I'm at. And, we'll see where we're going, but I can only imagine up, because I'm working hard today still. Maybe not as hard as when, your mom's bringing you groceries and you're hungry. Without a doubt, I don't know that I have the same drive as then. I can be honest with myself. And that's okay. Because I don't, if I go from 110 to 130, I won't even really notice it. It'd be nice, but it's not like going from 20 to 110, where now you own a house, now you have no bills, now you can buy your own food, now you're not going to bed hungry, now you're not worried about, now you don't have the rent check, and then you have the top ramen 2 weeks, like we all know, anyone who's been broke knows what I'm talking about. So that was the journey. That's how much money I make out there for you. So as always, guys, I appreciate you. I share this with you again out of love, out of enlightenment of that these things don't happen overnight. It is a journey. It's going to be hard. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to continually work hard. And if you do, success will be yours. But you need to put in the time, the effort, the energy. Worked out well for me. I'm a 2-time college dropout. Most of y'all have degrees. It'll be much easier getting past the HR firewall. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. If you're interested in any of my courses, there's links in the description below, as well as books that I'd recommend for you to read that you can level up your skill. Help me out in the process. Hit that notification bell, subscribe, like, share the video, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. I want to thank our long-term sponsor, Dev Mountain Coding Bootcamp. There hasn't been an organization that has quite sponsored and supported the channel quite like Dev Mountain. And I've had the pleasure of not only partaking in their quality assurance coding bootcamp, which was quite easy to furlough after 2 weeks in, but also viewing some of their campuses in the Provo, Utah, and talking with several of their students. I couldn't recommend their platform and their bootcamp more. Check them out at devmountain.com. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to check out my 100 Algorithms Challenge course. Get you prepped for those technical interviews to make sure you get nice offers. I actually just added some new content to it so you can get prepared for those technical phone screens as well. There's a link in the description to get it for just $9.99.